Strategy game where players are merchants in the city's bustling bazaar. You'll navigate with your assistants through various locations, gathering and trading goods, earning money, and collecting rubies. Setup. To start playing, the host player must choose the desired game mode. 4 modes are available. Short mode is recommended for your first plays. The layout of the bazaar tiles is designed to shorten the game's duration. Long mode is recommended for more advanced players. The layout of the bazaar tiles is designed to provide a longer game session. Random mode, as its name suggests, will create a random arrangement of bazaar tiles. Next, all players will be required to select a seat around the table and a color for their merchant. Once all the players are ready, the game will start. All on board will automatically set the board for you, depending on the mode selected and the number of players. Before the first turn, players must determine who will be the initial player. They will get the starting player marker, as well as 2 lira from the reserve. Then, in clockwise order, each subsequent player will get 1 more lira than the previous player from the reserve. Finally, each player draws a bonus card from the top of the stack and adds it to their hand. Determine the starting places of the governor and the smuggler. For each of them, roll both dice and place the token on the place tile with the appropriate number. In a 2-player game, the 3 merchants' tokens that were not picked by the players will be automatically placed in the 2 mosques and the gemstone dealer tiles. Gameplay overview. Beginning with the starting player, players will take turns in clockwise order until one of the players successfully collects 5 rubies on their wheelbarrow, or 6 of them in 2 players' games. Turn phases. Each turn consists of 4 phases that are always performed in the following order: movement, encounters with other merchants, action of the tile, and other encounters. Additionally, in their turn, players may use the actions of any number of bonus cards and mosque tiles they might have obtained. Movement. Players are required to move their merchant, together with all the assistants stacked under them, if any, to a different tile on every turn. They can move 1 or 2 tiles away orthogonally. Diagonal movement is not allowed. Leave an assistant behind. If none of the player's assistants was present at the destination tile, player can choose to place one in this tile. To drop the bottommost assistant in the tile, hover the tile while holding the stack, and use the secondary button. This assistant will be left behind when the merchant moves to another tile in the next movement phase. Pick up an assistant. If one of the player's assistants was already present at the destination tile, they can pick it up so it become a part of the stack again. To recover an assistant at the bottom of the stack, hover the assistant while holding the stack and use the secondary action button. If a player cannot or does not want to either pick up an assistant or leave one behind, their turn ends immediately. They will not be able to perform the action granted by the tile. Encounters with other merchants. If there are any other merchants at destination tile, the player must pay 2 lira to each one of their onward. If a player cannot or does not want to pay this price, their turn will end immediately. They will not be able to perform the action granted by the tile. In a 2-players game, players encountering neutral merchants will pay the 2 lira to the general supply instead. Neutral merchants need to be moved to a different tile, whether the player decided to pay them or not. You can do that by rolling both dice and placing the neutral merchant in the tile which number coincides with the dice roll. Exception: you don't have to pay other merchants at the fountain tile. Other encounters. Family members. If there are other players' family members at the target place, you must catch them and send them all to the police station unless they are there already. As a reward for catching them, you may take 1 bonus card, or 3 lira, from the general supply for each such family member. If you catch more than 1 family member, you may take a different or the same reward for each. You do not get any reward in the police station. The governor. You may draw 1 bonus card from the face-down stack and put it into your hand. If you do, either pay 2 lira or discard 1 bonus card from your hand. The smuggler. You may gain 1 good of your choice. If you do, you must pay 2 lira or 1 good. If you use the ability of the governor or smuggler, roll both dice and place the respective token in the place indicated by the dice roll result. Roll separately if you use them both. Tile action. Each tile on the board represents a different location of the bazaar, and since it has a specific action associated. If a player dropped or picked up an assistant during this turn, they might carry out the action. This action is optional. Players might proceed to the next step if they don't want to perform the tile action. You can use Smart Glance to obtain instructions for the specific action available on that tile. Tile description. Wainwright. Pay 7 lira into the general supply to take a wheelbarrow extension from the Wainwright and place it in your wheelbarrow. Once you have extended your wheelbarrow 3 times and have since completed it, you take 1 ruby off the Wainwright tile and place it on your wheelbarrow, fabric, spice, and fruit warehouse. Max out the indicator on your wheelbarrow for the corresponding good type: fabric, spice, or fruit. Post office. You receive the resources depicted in the 4 uncovered spaces. Then, cycle the indicators to their next position using the primary action button. Caravanserai. Take 2 bonus cards into your hand and then discard 1 bonus card from your hand. When taking bonus cards with this action, you may also take them from the top of the face-up discard pile. Fountain. The fountain is used to bring all your assistants back together. The fountain is the only place where you do not need to drop or recover an assistant to carry out the action, and you do not have to pay other merchants if they are present. If you send your family member to the fountain, your assistants are still returned to your merchant stack. Black market. Gain 1 red, 1 yellow, or 1 green good. Then roll both dice, and then take blue goods according to your result, following this table. Tea house. Announce a number between 3 and 12. Then, roll both dice. If you roll equal to or greater than the announced number, take as much lira as the number you announced from the general supply. If you rolled less, you still take 2 lira. Small and large market. Sell 1 to 5 of the goods depicted on the demand tile. Reduce the goods indicators on your wheelbarrow accordingly. Then, take the revenue from the general supply according to the table. Finally, cycle the demand tile to the next one using the quick action button. Police station. If your family member is in the police station, free it and send it to another tile. Then carry out the action of that tile. Your family member does not have any encounters. While at other tiles, your family member may be caught by other merchants and sent back to the police station. The catching player will get 1 bonus card or 3 lira as a reward. Sultan's Palace. Deliver all the currently uncovered goods to the Sultan, reducing them from your wheelbarrow accordingly. As a reward, take the next available ruby from the track and place it on your wheelbarrow. Small Great Mosque. If you carry the goods depicted on any of the tiles, you can pay these goods to obtain the tile and add it to your wheelbarrow. Reduce the goods indicators in your wheelbarrow accordingly. Each mosque tile provides a special ability. You may only have 1 copy of each tile. As soon as you acquire both tiles of 1 mosque, immediately and only once, take 1 ruby from that mosque and place it on your wheelbarrow. Remember that you can always check what these tiles do using Smart Glance. Mosque tiles description. Red tile. At the tea house and the black market, you may turn 1 die to a 4 result after the roll or re-roll both dice once. Green tile. When using one of the 3 warehouses, you may pay 2 lira to gain 1 additional good of any type. Blue tile. Immediately take the 5th assistant of your color from the general supply and place him under your merchant stack. Yellow tile. Once, on your turn, you may pay 2 lira to return 1 of your assistants under your merchant stack. Gemstone dealer. Pay the number of a lira into the general supply equal to the biggest number not currently covered by a ruby. Then, take the next available ruby from the track and place it on your wheelbarrow. Bonus cards. On their turn, players may play any number of bonus cards. Used or discarded bonus card should be placed on the face-up discard pile in the Caravanserai tile. When taking a bonus card, draw it from the face-down draw pile. As soon as the draw pile runs out, shuffle the discard pile to form a new face-down draw pile. Players may keep any number of bonus cards in their hand. Bonus cards description. Gain 1 good of your choice. Take 5 lira from the general supply. If you carry out the action at the Sultan's palace, after completing the action, carry it out one more time. If you carry out the action at the post office, after completing the action, carry it out one more time. If you carry out the action at the gemstone dealer, after completing it, you must carry it out one more time. Place your family member at the police station and collect the reward. If you carry out the action at the small market, you have to sell the required number of goods, but you may use other types of goods than required. In the first phase of your turn, do not move your merchant. Drop or retrieve an assistant to perform the action of the tile where you already were. In the first phase of your turn, move your merchant stack by 3 or 4 places instead of 1 or 2. In the first phase of your turn, return one of your assistants to your merchant stack. End of the game. When a player has collected 5 rubies on the appropriate spaces of his wheelbarrow, or 6 rubies on a 2-player game, the end of the game is triggered. Players must complete the current round so that every player has had an equal number of turns. After this round, the game ends. In this last round, each player may choose to use the remaining bonus cards, which provide either goods or money. This may matter for the tiebreaker. Determining the winner. The player with the most rubies wins. Ties are broken in the following order: most leftover lira, most leftover goods on the wheelbarrow, and most leftover bonus cards. If these have not resolved the tie, there are multiple winners. That's all for now. We wish you a fruitful day in the Istanbul Bazaar at All On Board. Welcome to How to Play Rallyman GT by All On Board. Get in your supercar and drive to the limit to be the first to cross the finish line. To start playing, the host player must choose the desired game mode. Next, the host chooses one of the available circuits. After that, all players will be required to choose the color of their car and one of the seats around the table. Once all the players are ready, the game will start. A random starting position will be assigned to each car on the starting line. First, players will decide the number of laps the race will consist of. If it's your first game, we recommend 2 laps. Rounds. The game is played in rounds, which ends when all players had finished their turn. To keep track of the current round, the round marker is used. This marker has 2 sides, one white and one black. To flip the gear marker, press the quick action button. In the beginning of the round, both the round marker and the gear markers of each player will always have the same color facing up. Gear markers are used to indicate the speed the car had at the end of the previous round. Playing order. In Rallyman GT, the order in which players will play their turns will vary, and it's determined at the beginning of the round. Primarily, the car with the highest gear marker always plays first, no matter where they are on the track. If two or more cars are going at the same speed, the car in the space whose front edge is furthest along the track plays first. In case of a draw in terms of speed and distance, the car closer to inside lane of the current or next corner plays first. In the first round, these rules apply as well, meaning that the first car to play would be the one situated closest to the inside lane of the first row of cars, also known as the pole position. Dashboard. The dashboard indicates your car type, the tires you're using, and the current weather conditions. During a race, this translates into how many dice the player will have at their disposal. The number of danger marks results the player can roll before suffering a loss of control and its consequences. Turn. During their turn, a player will do the following. Choose dice and use them to lay out their trajectory on the track. Roll their dice and move their car. During their turn, a player can use as many dice as they have at their disposal in their dashboard. However, each die can only be used once per turn. To plan their trajectory, players lay the dice out on the track, one space at a time. Each die allows you to move your car forward one space on the track and must be played in relation to the current car's speed. Using black die represent the gears of your car and are used to either accelerate or decelerate progressively. Using coast die. The white dice or coast dice are used to move your car forward one space while keeping your current gear. White dice can be used in any situation, except for when your current speed is 0. Using brake die. The red dice or brake dice are used to brake hard, slowing your car by more than one gear on a single space of the track. You can use any number or red dice combined with a single black die, all in the same space of the track. Each red dice will skip down one gear. Finally, the black die will further decrease the current gear by one more. A player cannot use dice to reduce their speed to 0. The minimum speed is first gear. Just remember the golden rule. Each die can only be used once per turn. Car movement. There can only be one car in any space at a time. You may not move through a space occupied by another car. Cars must always move forward, either in a straight line, along the same lane, or diagonally, changing lanes, but never laterally. The front edge of the space they move to must be further along the track than the previous one. You can change lanes as many times as you like during your movement. You must move your car at least one space forward each turn if you can do so. Overtakes. To enter a space alongside another player's car, a player must use a gear or coast die equal to or higher than the current gear of their opponent's car. Once their car is alongside them, the rest of their movement can be to any speed. If for some reason you cannot reach the speed necessary to overtake the car in front of you, or if there's no free space ahead of you due to the presence of other cars, you are considered blocked, and your turn will end in your current space and gear. You can also be blocked if the only available path will lead you to an unavoidable loss of control. In any case, players need to place the gear marker in your final position and flip it to the color opposite to the current rounds. To change the gear in the gear marker, press the secondary button and then select the corresponding gear number in the menu that shows up. Rolling your dice. Once you've chosen your dice and placed them on the track to plan your movement, you must now choose whether to roll your dice one at a time, which is safer and less likely to suffer a loss of control, or going flat out by rolling all at once, which is riskier but may grant you useful focus tokens. Safe roll. If the player decided to safe roll, they will roll and resolve dice space by space. If a space contains red dice, they all shall be rolled together with its corresponding black die. Independently of the roll result, the player's car is moved on to the space where the dice were. Any dice that rolls a danger mark are kept to one side. If a player reaches the danger limit shown on their dashboard, they suffer a loss of control, which must be resolved immediately. Players can choose to stop their movement before rolling all their laid out dice. This is useful when you suspect that the next roll might get you one too many danger marks, resulting in a loss of control. When ending their movement, whether it was because they chose to stop or made it to the end of their planned route, the player must place the gear marker of its color on their car. The number shown in the marker should correspond to the last gear they rolled this turn, and the color of the marker should be the opposite to the color shown in the round marker, going flat out. After laying the trajectory as normal, a player might decide to roll your dice all at once, going flat out. They might start by placing the gear marker on the final space of its desired trajectory before rolling the dice. The number on the marker should correspond to the final gear value, while the color of the marker should be the opposite of the shown in the round marker. Then, the player takes all the dice laid out on the track and rolls them all at once. If the player rolled less danger signs than the limit shown on their dashboard, they've made it. The player moves their car directly to the final space marked with their gear marker, and their movement ends. If the player rolls equal to or more than the danger limit shown on their dashboard, they suffer a loss of control. Before resolving the loss of control, the player must first take all the dice they rolled, without modifying their results, and lay them back out on the track as if they were planning a normal move, including the ones with the danger sign. They do not have to follow the same path they originally planned, and they are not required to use all of the rolled dice. The dice must still be placed using the normal rules, but the new trajectory is required to lead to a loss of control, whether it be through the accumulation of danger marks or a violation of track element, such as a speed limit. Once the dice are laid out, the loss of control will be resolved in the space where it was finally caused. This allows the player some choice as to where and at what speed they will resolve their loss of control. Going flat out and rolling dice all at once is the only way to gain focus tokens. The player gains as many as black and white dice was used during the flat out roll, even if the roll resulted in loss of control. Take focus token from the pile placed on the tabletop. Track danger and restrictions. Maximum gear, a number in the center of the space, indicates the highest gear a player can be in whilst occupying this space. Entering these spaces at a higher gear than the one indicated results in an immediate loss of control. Players may accelerate whilst leaving these spaces though. If the number is shown in a triangle sign, if the gear speed is equal to the maximum, players will add one danger result to their dice roll when resolving this space, or to the entire roll if going flat out. Number on lines. A number positioned on a dotted line at both ends of a space will modify the value of the maximum gear displayed in the space, depending on how the player enters this space. If a player enters this space coming from a space in the same lane, crossing the line directly, the maximum gear will be the one displayed on the line. If the player leaves this space to a space in the same lane, crossing the line directly, then the next space must be treated as if there were a maximum gear restriction of the indicated value. Danger marks. Following the same rules, a player whose car crosses a dotted line with an exclamation danger mark, either entering or leaving this space, must immediately add one danger to the result of their roll. These are cumulative, so crossing both in one turn would add 2 dangers to a player's roll. Very sharp corners. Some corners feature a double inside lane. Entering these corners from the inside lane will force the player to cross the dotted line while entering, and therefore applying its penalties. Using Focus Token. Focus tokens allow players to skip rolling a particular die when they choose to roll safely space by space. Consequently, focus tokens cannot be used when going flat out. Players may use focus tokens on their dice at any time, but always before some dice are rolled. A rolled die may never be modified. A player can secure as many dice as they like during their turn, if they can afford them. The first die, each turn costs 1 focus token to secure. Then, each additional die will cost 1 more token than the die before. Second die will cost 2, third will cost 3, and so on. Players may use focus tokens to secure a dice roll involving break dice. However, you must secure all the dice that are part of that roll. If the player cannot afford to pay for all the dice in the roll, they may not secure that roll. When securing a die, a player must discard the required number of focus tokens. Optionally, players can put their tokens on top of the dice on the board and discard them later for their convenience. A focus token does not allow you to ignore speed limits, danger marks imposed by your movement, or any other track effects. Resolving loss of control. A loss of control immediately ends a player's turn after resolving its effects. To resolve a loss of control, the player checks in their dashboard for the 2 possible negative effects: spinning off the track and suffering car damage. To resolve how badly spined off the track, check the first column against the speed the car had when the loss of control occurred. If it's a single 0 gear, the car will remain in the space where the loss of control happened. The player will turn its car to face the wrong way, and then the gear marker will be placed on 0. In the next round, the car may be turned around and played normally. If it's a double 0 gear, the car is placed on the side of the track, closest to the space where the loss of control occurred. If this space is in the center of the track, the player may choose which side they spin off. The player will place the gear marker using the double 0 number. During their next turn, the player may place the car back onto the track, facing the wrong way, and place the 0 gear marker. They will need to wait until the next round to play it normally from 0 gear. If a player tries to place their car back onto the track and another car is occupying the space, they may not come back onto the track that turn. Flip the double 0 gear marker to the opposite color and lose another turn. If 2 cars were set to return to the track at the same time, the one that left the track first re-enters and plays first. To resolve, if the car suffers any damage, check the danger level of the track tile where the loss of control happened and find the matching column on the dashboard. Then find the cell corresponding to the speed the car had. For each black square in the corresponding space, the player must draw 1 damage token from the bag. Damage tokens. When drawing a damage token, it is placed on your dashboard. A token with a die -1 symbol means that the player has 1 less die of that type available to roll. These tokens may reduce the availability of dice to a minimum of 0. Any further tokens have no effect. When a weather token is drawn, all players flip over their dashboards, taking note of the new danger limit and available dice. If 2 or 4 weather tokens are drawn during the same loss of control, they cancel each other out and have no effect. When a yellow flag token is drawn, place it on the track tile where the loss of control occurred. A player may not reach alongside or overtake another car on the tile where this token is placed, nor on the ones directly before and after it. Cars that are off the track or in gear 0 are ignored. Cars that were already alongside others when this token is placed may move normally. Yellow flag tokens are removed from the board when the player who placed it starts their next turn on 0 gear. If a green flag is drawn, you got lucky. Green flags have no effect. Making a pit stop. To make a pit stop, the player must end their turn in gear 1, in a space with no speed or danger restrictions, anywhere except corners, and at the edge of the track, any lane but the central one. Place the gear marker in the space where car is. Then place the car in one of the 3 lanes on the pit stop tile. This lane allows the player to change the type of tires they use. To switch to a different type of tire, use the quick action button on the card on your dashboard. This is useful when the weather conditions have changed. Set your gear marker to 0 gear, and your car will return to the track, and you'll move normally on your next turn. This lane allows the player to repair their car, removing all the damage tokens in their dashboard. Set your gear mark to 00. During their next turn, their car will remain in the pit stop, and the player may only replace the 00 token with a 0 token. They may place their car back on the track only after a second turn and move normally. This lane allows for tire swaps while the car is in repairs. Follow the rules for repairs but swap to a different tire. End of the round. At the end of each player turn, they must flip their gear marker to the color opposite to the current rounds. To flip the gear marker, press the quick action button. End of the game. The game is won by the first player to cross the finish line after the final lap. Next players to cross will qualify second, third, etc. Now is the time to fasten your seatbelt and put the pedal to the metal with your friends in all on board.